We sing a song on our Celebrate Sunday nights by Jeremy Riddle. It's called Sweetly Broken. To the cross he beckons me, places me gently to my knees. You know, and just sings about how we are sweetly broken so that we can make it to the cross. It's a beautiful song. I love singing that song. As I shared with the busted candy, just because you're broke doesn't mean you're not still sweet. And God finds a way to use us. But in tonight's lesson from Matthew, Jesus is really going out of his way to give us a roadmap to solve problems in the church. That's the first thing I want to point out. This is a conflict-solving recipe, no doubt. If someone sins against you, go to them individually. If they listen to you, then you've won them back. If not, get 2 or 3 others and then go to them to point out the sin, so that 2 or 3 others may witness every word that has been spoken. If this still doesn't work, Jesus says, bring them to the church council or the leadership in front of the entire church. And then if this yet does not work, Jesus says, treat them as if they are a Gentile and a tax collector. Do you know that the Gentiles and tax collectors at that time were not well treated at all? So Jesus lays out this formulaic process of solving a problem: individual, multiple witnesses, entire church, and then finally, if no resolution exists, treat them as they are Gentiles and tax collectors, which was not too darn good. This is for the church. This is not for your personal life. You can use this in your personal life. Good model. But Jesus is talking about the church. And there's a reason Jesus is talking about the church. Because the church is the bride of Christ. This is the spouse of Jesus, as tradition says. And Jesus wants his bride to be healthy and without conflict. The impact of the church in the world today is so important. Jesus gave us these rules many years ago, perhaps to tell us if we cannot solve our conflict within a church, it is better for us to have time where others are split away. Because the church does not need to exist and live in conflict, in bad advertisement, through gossip and fighting. Jesus is saying it is better to treat them as Gentiles and tax collectors. And this is because the church is so important. We know from our personal lives that at times when we have conflict and troubles, we try to solve them, but we may arrive at a point with someone where even individually we realize the best play is to walk away. The best play is simply to look at someone else and say, I have nothing to do with them. They are not part of my life. This is individually. We've experienced that. We've gone through that. It happens. But now Jesus is saying, in the church, if this happens, it is better to have people leave and not be a part of you. This is how critical the church is in the world. Jesus does not want a group of people coming together, calling as a Gentile and a tax collector. But then the more I started to think about this, the more I started to think maybe this is reasonable. First of all, if we treat somebody as if they're outside instead of in, we at least cease the conflict. We may not be getting along, but the conflict can stop. All of us know that we need time to break away from one another. Sometimes. But then I started to think more and more about this. And I started to think tax collectors and sinners. Tax collectors and Gentiles. Then I remembered Jesus loved tax collectors and Gentiles. And maybe what Jesus is saying is if in your church, if you can't solve it, maybe leave it to me, Jesus. Remember Matthew? He was a tax collector, and Jesus met him one day and said, I am coming to your home today in celebration. Maybe what Jesus is suggesting is if we have a problem in church, maybe we need to go to their home and dine in mercy and in love. I don't know. But I know Jesus went to the home of tax collectors and showered them with love and forgiveness and acceptance where the rest of the culture at that time hated them. Gentiles, I wonder? Jesus healed Gentiles. Jesus healed the son of a soldier at his request, who was a Gentile. Jesus healed a Syrophoenician woman after he called her a dog. But she was a Gentile, and she persisted in faith, and Jesus said, Woman, great is your faith. Your daughter shall be healed. Jesus did not give up on tax collectors and Gentiles. Jesus specialized there. His love and grace and mercy and healing and forgiveness went beyond what the church thought it should do, as Jesus extended the very ministry of his grace and presence to the people that were thought to be outside and unworthy. And so maybe the suggestion Jesus is making here is this. At times we may come in conflict, we may follow a series of things, and perhaps sometimes maybe it is going to be Jesus, who through his power and relationship and presence with others will bring healing and restoration. This I know and believe. We do not talk about the importance and the value of the church enough in our culture today because we are too lost in individualism and individual spirit and individual relationship, all of which is important. But the church is the bride of Christ, and Jesus wants the church to function in this world in a powerful and positive way, not in a harmful way. This past Saturday I shared with you that my wife's kidney stones passed. It was quite painful. At one point she called from the floor of the bathroom, nearly unconscious, Joshua. He said, Dad, go upstairs. Mom needs help. I go upstairs. I find her on the floor. She's like, I can hardly move and breathe and get me to the bed. And so I yell at Josh, get up here. We got to take care of Mom. And we picked her up and we put her in bed. And thankfully, she just got stronger and stronger and stronger after that. I wondered, though, to myself, why did she call Josh? But then it dawned on me my phone was on silent. And I grabbed the phone. And I realized I missed her call. There she was, hurting and in pain, and I was not present to help her. I missed the call. But you know what the beauty of it is? My son was there to pick his phone up. My son answered the call. My son who got me, and together we helped her. And so it takes time for things to pass and to heal, and we go through some pain, and sometimes we have to call more than one person. Sometimes we need more than just us to bring healing. And maybe that very one person is Jesus at times. So what I'm asking you to do tonight is to consider the power of the church and the importance of who we are in the world. I want you to know that Jesus invites us into healed relationships with one another and outlines a process for us to do this step by step. And I want you to know that sometimes you may have to step away and allow time to go on so things pass and healing comes. But what I also believe is that although we are told to treat them as a Gentile and a tax collector, I do not think this means push them out or judge. I think it means perhaps sometimes we have to leave them to the hands of Jesus to truly heal and bring back to the family. Our church is powerful and important, friends, because we are the bride of Christ, not because of who we are. I pray that we understand this and value this and work to be the best presence of God in the world we